not the start recording. And then you go over to YouTube and refresh. You should get a live window.
Here, I see you.
So we really are live.
It's
You've got a chat window there. There may not be anything in it, but it's there. I hope. No.
What?
I'm talking to the dog. Maybe later.
all right. Looks like Melody's online,
All right. Hi, Melody.
and Maria is here.
Maria, the faithful. That's what we will call her, Maria the Faithful. Always doing those meditations. Thank you. So we're live. Anybody else comes in and says hello, please type in the little chat window and let us know you're here. Welcome back to Toltec Discussions with Golden Eagle. We've been off the air for 2 weeks because of rampant fires in the region. Several of our students had to evacuate. They are all back home safely. We know other people who live in the greater Reading area who lost homes. And it's been pretty devastating. The fire, when it started, was down on the western outskirts of Reading, for those of you who know how to read maps, and was about 55 miles away. It's moved north and west, and as a crow flies from here, it's about 25 or 30 miles away now. We are hoping that's as close as it gets. I have a good friend who is, actually more than one, but one I'm going to be calling in the morning, who is working with the fire crews there. He drives one of the water trucks, and they seem to have it more contained and it's just going to burn itself out. So we hope we don't have to evacuate. And we certainly don't expect to get any kind of notice like that in the next hour or two that we're on the air. So it's kind of a good object lesson about being prepared for whatever's next. And it's not just always about emergencies, it's about life in general. We realized that we did not have as much of our potential emergency evacuation preparedness done as we thought we had. So we've been using this downtime to do a lot of that, and just for fun, because you can never have too much fun on a farm. In the middle of all this evacuation preparations, we decided it was time to replace a water heater, which meant replacing half of a laundry room floor. And it wasn't so much we decided, it was kind of decided for us. But that just made life interesting these last 2 weeks. Anyway, we have a brand new best-selling water heater, a remodeled laundry room, and most of our emergency prep for a quick evacuation is ready. So that means, hopefully, we won't need it. What I wanted to talk about tonight is directly related to not just these fires in Reading, which are the ones imminently potentially threatening us right here, but there are fires everywhere. In California, there's a train going by, so we will wait. That was one. Two. Now the short one. And number 4, so I can talk again. So they're all up and down California. I did not realize this, but it has been confirmed that since 2012, there has been at least one forest fire in California burning continuously for the last 6 years. There's never a time in that period where there hasn't been at least one active fire in California. That's pretty shocking, actually. When I was growing up, again, here on the West Coast in the Pacific Northwest, we might go years without a forest fire. The weather is changing, and the changes in the weather are not always natural. I'm not going to dwell on that aspect of what I have to say tonight, except to acknowledge that yes, there's artificial weather being created by a number of governments, the leader of which appears to be the United States, using a variety of technologies. The chemtrails, spraying of chemicals in the atmosphere, HAARP, the large wavelength interferometry system using electromagnetic radiation that has a number of installations around the world. There is the new 5G towers that are involved in this, and there is a lot of direct energy weapons involved in this. By direct energy weapons, I mean high power lasers that can melt automobiles from drones usually. And there is video evidence that is highly suggestive that some, at least, of these forest fires have been started deliberately using some of these technologies. There's no nice way of saying that without sounding a little bit conspiracy-like, and I think that we just have to deal with that fact, that we're dealing with a government that isn't what it purports itself to be. So, what do we do about it? Without complaining overly much, the obvious question is, okay, now what? Let's suppose everybody in the world wakes up tomorrow and says, oh my gosh, the government's out to get us. Every conspiracy theory for the last 50 years that has come up, that has been proven either right or wrong, everyone that has had a decision has been proven true. I'm not sure anybody realizes that unless you've been following these. Some of these conspiracy theories I've been following since I was a young teenager. Probably the classic is the official report on the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, the so-called Warren Commission report. I refer to the Warren Commission report as one of the best pieces of science fiction ever written. If you want to know more, go read all the stuff that's out there, and there are volumes about that incident. But that was probably the first time this was made obvious to the American public. Partly we have the media to credit for that. Prior to that, we had conspiracies. We went into the Spanish-American War based on the trumped-up falsehood that they, the Spaniards and or Cubans, sank one of our battleships in the USS Maine in Havana Harbor. That precipitated the Spanish-American War. We went into Cuba. We won that war against the Spanish. Later, then Major Teddy Roosevelt, who later became President Teddy Roosevelt, was made famous in that war when he led a big charge up San Juan Hill, which basically won the war. So that war was based on a falsehood because it turns out, with the 2020 hindsight of 100 years more knowledge, we blew up the Maine ourselves. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yvonne, Little Eagle, is
Where are
here.
you sitting?
I'm here, you're there, or on the couch.
Um, always glad to have you.
Thank you.
So these are the kind of things that have been going on. It's just that it wasn't until the JFK assassination that they really became more obvious. And it's partly because of the media, partly because that assassination was practically on live television. I was alive for that, although I was very young. I don't remember hearing the moment of the assassination, but I do remember watching the funeral on television, the horse-drawn caissons. So every war since then has been started on these same false, trumped up, what are now termed false flag events. This is now business as usual, and
Keep going.
okay, business as usual here in America between a government and the people. The term conspiracy theorist that I threw out a minute ago actually came about and was created by the CIA to discredit people who questioned the Warren Commission report. Not everybody knows that. As soon as it came out, there were so many obvious glaring errors with it. So many instances that required a violation of the laws of physics and momentum and bullets and bullet fragments and who got shot how many times, eyewitness reports, all those kind of things, saying, oh no, the shots from over there, I heard it, I saw the smoke, and it was up here on this grassy knoll, and people ran over there searching for whoever was firing the shots, all caught on film, and yet it wasn't in the Warren Commission report. So many holes. And the term conspiracy theorist was created by the CIA to discredit anyone. Oh, they don't believe our report? They're just a conspiracy theorist. And it is stuck, and it's used for the same purposes now. And like, as I said, every conspiracy that has had its decision in the last 50 years has been proven true. We don't have any wacky conspiracy theories that have been proven false. Now, some we don't know yet. We don't know. We don't know for sure whether President Trump is really an alien in a human costume. That one has not been proven. I've heard the theories. I've seen the websites.
Well, even Monsanto and this latest ruling that, that yes, their Roundup causes cancer. I mean, that should be a no-brainer, but we've been fighting that one for how long? And
Yeah.
And people, certain groups, I love Roundup, it's great, I'm not going to give it up, so you're a kook and, get over it and move on. And so, unfortunately, it takes people getting sick and dying to make a change.
Right. I know individuals who have told me I was an absolute nut because I thought Roundup was bad. There's nothing wrong with it. I wash my hands with it. I've even drunk it,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm fine.
Not for long.
Yeah, and I don't know any nice way to say it than that's Darwin in action. Really, those kind of people will be taken out because they're not capable of seeing the truth. So, where I'm going with that is with our weather. Dark chocolate is a good thing. I hope all of you out there watching in TV land have some.
Thank you. I love you forever now.
Sorry, I'm taken.
I can still love you.
You can love me. Yeah, that's fine. but I'm taking,
That's okay.
because she gave me the dark chocolate.
Bonnie's the best.
That's why I married her. The last time we met, we were brainstorming ideas on how to change the collective consciousness of humanity and thereby alter paradigms and thereby change the world. And that was, if you go on the YouTube channel, that was the previous version. So yeah, I encourage everybody to watch that. It was dated 3 weeks ago from today. So you do the math. What we decided in lieu of the fires, we were supposed to get together next week, and that went to heck in a handbasket in a hurry before the end of that, before that week was out. Is I made a command decision and said we're going to work on the weather. And the way we've been working on the weather, if you've read the blog that's associated with this, because there isn't another video broadcast until tonight, so we're going to be reviewing that, is we're doing a meditation. There are 2 opportunities each day to work as a group. And the time I picked was 6 a.m.
I thought it was 7.
7.
7. Thank you. What was 6 a.m.?
When you get up.
I'm usually up by 6. Okay. 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. It'd be great if you could do both. It's sometimes possible to only do one. So for those of you watching, we're going to do it during here. It's not exactly at 7 tonight. We have some high-level help involved with this. If you want to know more, talk to me offline. The purpose, or the technique is basically you get in your quiet space, preferably one where you won't be interrupted by cell phones or curious children, meowing cats, whiny dogs, squawky parrots. Not that anybody would ever have all of that in one house.
We don't have any children.
Well, that's true. But some of our students do.
You're the child.
But she's not here every day. So I have never seen her here at 7 a.m.
May surprise you.
And if you come over at 7 a.m. and want to meditate, we can meditate together.
Okay.
Otherwise, I just meditate. And you get in your safe space. You get in your meditation posture. I've taught several at some of our previous events. And if you want help with that, contact me offline. Otherwise, use what you're used to. And you're going to then activate the Akadua. If you're watching this and don't have the Akadua, contact me and I can take care of that for you. Or any one of the level 3s that are part of the school can take care of it for you. Because like if you're in Red Bluff or Paradise, I can get you hooked up. Once you've activated the Akadua, you expand your fields and you grow your energy field bigger and bigger and bigger until you're bigger than the room you're in, you're bigger than the region you're living in, until you're bigger than the whole planet, and you're holding the planet, Earth, between your hands. And you will notice that there is a pink glowing field around it. That is the field of the collective consciousness that includes the consciousness of all of humanity and the consciousness of the planet, our Mother Earth. When you get to that space, you're going to then, through the Akadwa, you're going to be sending Akadwa to that field. And with whatever you send, you're going to send a message. What I've been asking you to focus on up till now is healthy, normal, optimal weather everywhere. Don't worry about how that has to get done. There's some things I'm doing along those lines in addition to that. But you don't have to worry about that. Just do that. Healthy, normal, optimal weather everywhere. And I know some of you have been doing this, and some of you have been doing it diligently. Some of you, I'm not sure, I haven't heard from you, and I haven't necessarily sensed all of you in the meditations. So I suspect some of you haven't gotten there yet. We're going to add something now. We've been doing this one for 2 weeks. We're going to add something to it. And now it's time for another bite of chocolate.
I forgot to bring the ABDs, so at some point I need to run and grab that.
Why don't you go get that now? We're moving in that direction. I don't know who invented dark chocolate, but I almost put them on the same category of whoever invented the wheel.
It has to be in Mexico somewhere.
Somewhere in America, American continent. It wasn't native to anywhere else but here. Native Americans. May have been the pre-Mayans.
Probably Toltec.
Or the Amalok. But somebody invented dark chocolate, and hallelujah.
It's probably the goddess.
I give due credit where credit's due. But I often think of things like that. Who was the first one to do this? Like invent the wheel. You know, it's like, wouldn't you just, okay, I need to move a heavy object, and this isn't working. How can I do this better? And he made 2 wheels and stuck them on an axle, and then put a cart in it, and it's like, wow, how cool. All these hundreds of thousands of years later, and we still haven't really improved on it that much. Okay, so you've sent this message to the planet. What we're adding now is something that is aimed not just at the final outcome of healthy, normal, optimal weather. We're aiming something specifically at those engaged in the process of altering the weather in a negative manner. So this is the crews who are involved in spraying chemtrails. That's the pilots, the air crews, the ground crews who load the chemicals, the factories who manufacture the chemicals, the people who transport the chemicals on the ground. It's the people who build and maintain and operate HARP systems and 5G towers and these high-power lasers, and all the people who plan all these things. And they have been influenced. I've actually seen videos online of what they tell these people to make them think they're saving the world. Oh, there's all these problems with global warming, and this is the only way to save the planet. And having worked in the classified world, and I've seen how they compartmentalize things. You're told this and only this, and you're specifically prohibited from talking to anybody else. You never learn those other pieces. If you're observant and you're working in those industries, you go off and you see, wait a minute, what's this thing in the news over here that doesn't match what they just told me? Which is how it started with me. And then you see things in the news, you see things in magazines, you see things now on the internet, and you go, wow, I've been lied to. And they're being lied to. And in some cases they're being threatened, in some cases they're being enticed with big salaries. And the reasons why are complex. We're not going into all the reasons tonight, but what I am going to tell you is this is a manifestation of this age-old ultimate battle between good and evil, light and dark, us and them, whatever you want to call it. And one of the reasons they have put in so much effort at trying to secularize society, to deny the existence of God, for mainstream media to treat anybody who is religious or has a belief in anything spiritual as quaint folklore. They put it in the same category of mythology, which they are doing in a very derogatory manner. And so they've downplayed it, because if good and evil don't exist, we can have a world any way we define it. And that's exactly what we see being created out there in secular society, who do not acknowledge the spiritual nature of the universe and of life. So the way we're going to deal with that is we're simply going to send them a message. So when you've got the planet between your hands and you've sent for a little bit, and these meditations, try to go at least 5 minutes and up to 15. We don't need to do more than 15 minutes at any one sitting. Start with the one you've been doing, the healthy, normal, optimal weather everywhere now. And then, do that one for 5 minutes. And you don't have to race through, just once a minute, once every 30 seconds, repeat that. Send that through the Akadwa into the human and planetary consciousness field. Then switch, and what we're going to do is we're going to send a message: God lives. And love is the answer. God lives. Love is the answer.
Beautiful message.
Because ultimately that's what it comes down to. If that message starts getting through, that's the little chink in their armor. That's the first domino in the long chain of dominoes. That's the thing that can cause these individuals, those who can be saved and helped and hopefully turned and stopped, that's the start of something bigger. They will start to question things. They will start to make changes. The key is getting as many people doing this at the same time as possible, using the Akadwa into the collective consciousness field. Questions on that here or out there? Anybody? Okay.
Let me just say that Cherie and Sarah are on a line. So
Hi, Sarah.
Hello.
We were talking about you.
And
Hi, Cherie. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Cherie, too, yeah.
and Cherie said to say hi to you, little eagle. But regarding the meditations, Sarah says, I haven't done these meditations yet. I've been doing my own. The fire really messed me up emotionally, and I've been working through that.
That's
fine. One thing I wanted to say to that, Sarah, is just that, like, I went through that big, hang on.
Yeah, I've been having a lot of emotional stuff with this fire and the smoke too.
So, Sarah, when I was about your age, I had just a newborn baby that was only like 3 months. And I had an older son who was up at preschool. And I was in Santa Cruz when the big earthquake hit in 1989, where we couldn't basically go to work or do anything for several weeks because of the devastation. And it was, we were okay, our house was okay, but my ex at the time, my kid's dad, he felt, this driving need to go do something, and it was difficult because the roads were damaged and we lived up in the mountains, and so he had to, go quite a ways, and he volunteered with the, I think it was the Red Cross. And it was interesting because there was a bad rainstorm right after that, and there was a lot of Mexican immigrants who had just gone through a huge earthquake in Mexico.
Oh.
Then when they were up in Central California working, and then this other one came in, and they wouldn't even go indoors. They were in tents outside in the rain and the mud, and he was there helping and stuff, and it makes it very real in the moment. And these are the heroic things that you hear on TV and stuff, but now you've been part of that and seen it up close and personal. And so, yeah, it should, affect us, and it should motivate us to action. But, I think it's important to look at the techniques that are being provided here as a way of holding together and feeling like you're not the only one out there trying to hold everything together. There's, I think a lot of support in knowing that others are doing their part and that there's other things going on, even though you can't always see it. And so in that way, I've been doing the meditations in my own way, and I'm trying to do them at the same time. I do feel like, and I've done this kind of work before, where I can say that when we do things all at the same time, energetically, we should feel it. We should feel connected. We should feel that solidarity. In addition to this, I've been working with EJ's ashram, which has a drumming circle, which they usually dedicate towards something usually earth-related, and so obviously it's been dedicated to the fires. But they've been keeping that going open 24 hours a day, so even when other group members go to other sites in the ashram, there's been more of a representation of people there at this drum circle specifically for the fires. And in fact, just so you know, that family that perished in the fire that you knew, Sarah, they have included that at the ashram on the ABD reading list. And so they took those names, and there's several people reading for those people. But the thing about it for me, up here in the mountains by myself, I mean, you guys are down there going through your own thing. We have this horrible smoke here. It's just daunting, you don't know what's going on. And I have found that doing these ashram meditations and stuff, and knowing that there's other people out there working on the same thing, has been very supportive and helpful for me. That's all I got.
Thank you. So Sarah, do your thing. And if at some point you choose to work on this one, that's fine. This is a long-term technique that we are going to keep doing. Right now, this is the subject of most urgent need. Long term, I want to go from a handful of people to hundreds of people to thousands of people, all using the Akadwa to do these meditations on related techniques, all aimed at the human and planetary consciousness field, all aimed at creating new paradigms. This is how we will win a spiritual war. Like I've jokingly said before, but in all seriousness, no matter how much fun it is to pick up a sword and put heads on pikes, that's not how we're going to win this war. That's been done over and over again, and you see where we're at. So that's the new edition. In addition to healthy, normal, optimal weather now, the message aimed at the people is God lives and love is the answer. That's what we're going to do now, is add that in. This fire came out of nowhere, really. It started one day, and I didn't even hear about it the day it started because, we're a little bit numb of all these fires in California, and I don't recall the day it started saying, oh yeah, there's a new fire in the mountains west of Redding, somewhere near Happy Valley, because let's face it, the mountains west of Redding and near Happy Valley burn every year. And it's sort of like up here in Siskiyou County over to the northwest, there's an area called Happy Camp, not to be confused with Happy Valley. And there's fires in the Happy Camp region every year that we've lived here. In fact, even before we moved here, when we were just traveling and visiting here, they had fires. And there's one there right now. In that general vicinity. So it's a little annoying. Oh yeah. And then like the next day, I was, can't remember, I'm getting my weeks confused, scheduled to go down somewhere and do something, and somebody said, well, what about the fire? I said, well, what fire? Well, the one by Redding. It's like, I didn't know there was one by Redding. Let me look. And it's like, I look, and it's like, wow, holy Moses, this thing's blown out of control, and it escalated quickly, exponentially. We don't know what's going to happen and how fast it might happen. So that brings up, in a lot of ways, the idea of being prepared. And like we assessed our farm, we have fortunately a lot fewer animals to be concerned about now than we did a year ago. We now have just a few, but we have animals in that farm, we have animals on the house, we have our stuff, we want to throw our computers in and a few other things. And if we had an hour's notice to leave, then we could get all that loaded and gone. But in addition to that, there's a spiritual preparedness that's necessary. And it's necessary to maintain this all the time. When the dark side throws a dart, we should not be surprised. There's a famous story about a scorpion who needed to cross the river. And he was waiting beside the river for somebody who could swim, who could come along and take him across. And everybody who came along, he said, I'm not going to give you a ride. You're a scorpion. We'll get halfway across, you'll sting me, and then I'll drown, and we'll die. And the scorpion tried to say, hey, no, I won't, because if I sting you, I'll drown too, and I'll die. Why would I do that? And they wouldn't trust him. They all went up. Finally, a frog comes by. He says, Mr. Frog, please help me. And the same story, and he explains to the frog, well, if I sting you and you drown from my sting, then I'll drown and die. Why would I do that? And the frog goes, oh, well, that makes sense. Here, climb on my back and I'll take you over. So he climbs on the back, the frog starts swimming, gets in the middle of the stream, and the scorpion stings him. And the frog's going through his convulsions. Why did you do that? Now we'll both die. And the scorpion's like, well, I can't help myself. It's my nature. Glub, glub, glub. The nature of evil is to be evil. Right? We should not be surprised when evil behaves in an evil manner. So spiritually and mentally, there's a preparedness. It's that quiet calm of the warrior. It's not walking around with a sword drawn, with full battle lust on. More samurai-like or Jedi-like. That very calm, Zen-like, be here now presence. what Toltecs call the place of power. We need to maintain our place of power, and not just when we're getting ready to meditate or do a spiritual exercise. But the time has come where we must maintain that attitude always, constantly. You get up in the morning, before you even wake up, you should have your place of power and the calm of the warrior. You go through your day. If you're driving in traffic, you're preparing food, you're eating food. You don't have to behave like a wild animal who's got to keep all the other animals trying to steal the kill you just made. You're just there, you're ready, you're calm. If a wild animal comes, you can deal with it. But maintain that place of power. Maintain that attitude of readiness, where you're not surprised when evil comes and behaves evilly towards you or anybody else. There's a sense of not overreacting, I would say. And it's very, very interesting to note that because of the energy fields, your readiness, your body language, your energy language, will avert many, many potential dangerous situations. Before I had the Akadwa, I was early in my martial arts career. I stopped at a gas station late one night, started pumping gas. Somebody comes in, driving a big old noisy car, throws the door open, and they look like an inbred hillbilly. This is in the LA area. We have them there too. Smoking. Left the car running, was obviously drunk, couldn't walk straight, couldn't quite manage, and I was like, okay, this is a disaster waiting to happen. Excuse me, sir, could you please put your cigarette out? There's a sign, no smoking, it's dangerous, it's a gas station, the whole place could go up with just one spark. Could you please put that out? Of course, he got angry and screaming and came over threateningly toward me. You mother son of a who knows what. Every word was a curse word. And as he closed the distance from about 30, 35 feet down, he got within 15, 20 feet. I didn't realize it instantly, but I subconsciously stepped into a martial arts ready stance. Just a simple shift of my body language. And he took about 2 more steps, and he stopped and froze. And he looked at me. And all of a sudden you could see there was a difference in his eyes as the higher being woke him up from his drunken stupor. And he kind of looked around himself as if he was surprised to see himself there. At that instant, I doubt he would have remembered any of the conversation that had taken place in the previous 30 seconds where I asked him to put the cigarette out. And he looked at me. And I wasn't like, I was just in that calm, ready state. And he looked at me. And then he shook his head and said, well, F you, and turned and got in his car and left. Other than asking him to put his cigarette out, I didn't say anything else. It was just that shift in my position and in my energy and even in a drunken stupor that woke him up. That's how this readiness, the quiet calm of the warrior, your place of power, can affect things and avert danger. There is an urgency that I want you all to recognize. And it's not urgent and like, oh my gosh, it's 10 to 8 and they told us to evacuate right now and so we've got to be out of here by 8:30. I'm not talking about that kind of urgency. I'm talking about an urgency with respect to all of humanity and the changes taking place in the earth and the human consciousness and in this battle of light and dark, of good and evil. There's in war, there are times when the chess pieces are moving, figuratively speaking, and the battle's arrayed, the armies are there, and everything's there. And up until a certain point, the armies can choose to disengage. But you know what? Not today. We're going to make peace. We're not going to kill half of each army. But in every one of those situations, there's always that crux. And once you go past that certain crux, there's no stopping. It's like water flowing downhill, the dam breaks, it's going to go. You won't stop it. And that's true in nature. Lake Missoula, right?
Mm-hmm.
For those of you who don't know, we've been studying a lot of the natural history in this greater Northwest region. Back during the Ice Age, there was an ice dam that formed and completely blocked the Clark Fork of the Snake River. And backed up a huge, massive lake of water that held a mound equivalent to two of the Great Lakes. I can't remember, Lake Erie and Lake Michigan or whatever it was. That much water. And when the conditions were right, I don't know if it was warming or what, if it was wave action, the ice dam broke. And when it did, it sent a wave of water over through Montana, across the panhandle of Idaho, across most of the eastern half of Washington state. It slammed into the Columbia River Gorge and sloshed up into the Cascade Mountains and came down and it raised the level of the Columbia River. It created a debris dam down near the Columbia River Gorge where the Columbia River starts to weave through the Cascade Mountains. That backed up and made a dam which didn't last nearly as long and then washed all that out. Native legends talk about this. A lot of people died. Some had tribes. How we know this is the tribes whose shamans were on it and saw this coming. They got them out of the way, and the tribes just disappeared. And it took months for all this water to weave through and recede and get back to some semblance of normal. If you were living downstream in the Columbia River and that dam broke up there, if you had known it was coming because there was no stopping it at that point. That's the crux point I'm talking about. You throw that switch and then that water's coming down and it's going to devastate everything in its way. In terms of this battle of good versus evil, this has been foretold a long time. And not just in the Bible, but many prophecies, especially some of the Native American tribes like the Hopi. It's been foretold. Exactly this time, exactly what's going on right now. We are not yet at that crux point where the switch has been thrown and all the bad stuff has to happen. The armies are jockeying. This is still, from a chess game parlance, we're somewhere between the end of the opening and the beginning of the mid-game. Maybe we're a little into the beginning of the mid-game. Yeah, probably. So we're aligning, and there's still some people who are coming up to the chessboard and deciding which side they're going to go for. Are you going to play for the white pieces or the dark pieces? So not everybody has chosen sides, but many have, and the pieces are moving. And we're not to the crux point yet. We still have a chance. When you read the Bible, when you read the Hopi prophecies, when you read all others, yes, it's going to happen, but how bad it gets, how long it lasts, how quickly you recover, depends on how many people wake up and choose to take proactive action to prevent a worsening. This is what we're trying to do with these meditations. This is what we want to do to change the paradigms of people. You're going to notice, if you go back and look at the last several recordings and rewatch them, even if you watched it live, watch it again, you're going to notice there's some similarities between what we cover in these discussions, what I cover in my blogs, what's going on out there in the world, what we cover when we have our day-long seminars. There's some similarities, there's some relationships there. Purely random, of course. No. This is preparation. One of the themes that I have been putting out there, hoping that you take notice, is this sense of urgency. And the best thing you can do to prepare is to maintain your personal practice. Define your personal practice. I'm going to do a meditation, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do the vitriol, I'm going to do my calisthenics, I'm going to do my yoga, I'm going to do my martial arts. I'm going to chop wood, I'm going to carry water. Whatever your personal practice is going to be, commit to it and do it, because that's how you build personal power. Building the personal power is key for the Toltec warrior to have the power that when we meditate and send an Akadwa signal to the human collective consciousness, it will have an effect. Some of you were at the weekend seminar a month or two ago when I told you exactly how much more effect each level, someone with each level of the Akadwa has compared to somebody who doesn't have the Akadwa. And then you can, and that's the minimum number. So if you have Akadwa level 1, you can be 10 times more powerful than someone who doesn't have the Akadwa. And it goes up exponentially. Is that a question?
No.
And it builds you personal power. So the more personal power you build, it's almost as if you've got another boost to your Akadwa. Building your personal power, maintaining your personal practice and doing something proactive for the benefit of all beings everywhere. It's really what this Toltec path is about. Every day you get up, you adopt that attitude of your place of power and start working to your intent with attention and putting all your juice into everything you do. Do not underestimate the power of those simple acts. Because they are powerful. They can. This can change the world. I'm not sure if we're going to have an ability to get everybody together to do movie nights the way I would like. We've done one in 7 months. I think what I may do is, because there's several out there with core lessons I've been wanting to teach. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to do a movie night, and wherever you are, whatever means, watch the movie and then tune in, and we're going to do a broadcast. And that means, yeah, it will be slowed down a little bit because you're going to have to be typing in comments, and hopefully we can get 1 or 2 people here and have a discussion and talk about it. Because there's 2 or 3 movies that are important for these concepts. I don't think this week will happen. Next week, maybe. We'll see. I like Friday or possibly Saturday nights for movie nights. If anybody has other preferences, let us know, because it's not carved in stone yet. The waveform has not collapsed for those of you who are quantum physicists out there. We have a choice.
Sarah wants to know what movies, but I'm assuming you'll give us a list, and hopefully there'll be things that are relatively easy to find.
I hope. The first movie I think I want to watch, because I referenced it recently in one of my blogs, is the original Matrix movie. Matrix 2 and Matrix 3 suck, and there's not much in the way of a useful spiritual message in either of them. There is in the first Matrix movie. Probably the second one I'm going to do is the Celestine Prophecy, which is powerful. It's kind of set up as a docudrama, but it's chock full of messages, and it would be really nice to think that in real life we could all make our spiritual lives go as fast as the guy who's the key character in the movie. In a week he goes from nothing to being fully enlightened. That'd be great. Didn't go that fast for me. I'll let you know when I'm done. But it's powerful, and the whole thing is very, very Toltec. They never mention the Toltecs. It's set in South America, which is more of Inca country, but it's still very, very Toltec. So those will be the first 2 that I want to do fairly quickly. Question?
I just wanted to note that with movie night movies, even if you've seen the movie before, you're going to want to watch it with attention, with the special instructions and with the Akadwa, because you'll see it in a whole different way.
Good point. And what we're going to do is, what I'm going to ask you to do is watch it at the same time. For example, we might say, okay, start the movie at 6, we'll have a discussion at 8 or 8:30, depending on how long the movie is. And yeah, even if you've seen it, watch it again at the same time as everyone else. Connect, POG, turn on the Akadwa, connect with everyone in the school who's watching. And amazing things can happen in a good way. Part of the training that we do in the Toltec is not just for this physical world. It's always important to remember these basics sometimes. We're learning to travel the other dimensions. So yes, we learn to work with the etheric body. We learn to work with the astral and travel there. Those are just the first two steps into a myriad of other dimensions, of parallel universes, of parallel timelines, all of which we will be teaching. I talk often, Ani talks often, about the Kabbalistic tree of life. It's a road map. Think of it kind of like a road map roughly equivalent to the interstate system around the country. Big steps from here to here to here. Yeah, you go from LA to Las Vegas to Salt Lake to Denver on these interstates, right? And you know there's these major stopovers at these big cities. So it's like the maps you get at AAA or Shell where you go from here to there. From point A to point B as directly and as quickly as possible. So that's kind of sort of the tree of life. Now there's a lot of information about the details of each pathway, each city, and so forth. On the reading list I've given you, there's a list of books. And as you wrap up and finish the reading of the first 4 books I've suggested that you read, actually, that I required that you read, I encourage you to start looking at some of those Tree of Life books and getting familiar with that. This is important as far as the work going forward for you on your esoteric path. We use that map because it's A, it's accurate, B, it's straightforward. Notice I didn't say easy, I said straightforward. And C, we have it. We didn't burn that batch of books. It's not, however, the only map to those spaces. Tree of Life is a great map to any space you want to go to in the macro dimensions, being above this one, bigger, higher than this one. Many cultures around the world, of course, you've heard us say this, have a Book of the Dead. The Tibetans have it, the Egyptians have it, the Celts have it, the Norse have it, everybody's got a Book of the Dead. It's like, I don't have it. I don't have Arlen's Book of the Dead. But what they are instructions sent down, somebody came down, delivered these instructions, and then left on how do you live your life and how to survive death through the macro dimensions so you can break this karmic cycle of random rebirth, where you birth into a life where you are stuck accumulating more negative karma that keeps you in here. And the first part of that process then is to start choosing conscious rebirths, so you're in the spiritual work. You are able to burn off karma, eliminate past karma, gain knowledge, serve humanity, and at the right point choose to leave that cycle and live on the higher planes to help others there, to help others down here. And some people keep coming back. There's a term from the Hindu systems called a bodhisattva, which is somebody who has sworn an oath and committed to come back over and over and over again until everybody's liberated and done with this plane.
Kuan Yin.
Kuan Yin did it,
Or is doing it.
or is doing it. The vow of the Bodhisattva is not my vow. I'm here for a specific period of time, do a specific batch of work, and then I'm moving elsewhere to do other work. The best overall translation of these Books of the Dead is one known as the American Book of the Dead. This is by the powerful shaman friend of ours named E.J. Gold, who didn't just retranslate the Tibetan Books of the Dead. He shamanically voyaged to all the chambers it describes and looked for himself and then reinterpreted it and put it into modern American language. And if you want to make progress in your shamanic voyaging, I highly suggest you read the American Book of the Dead, or as we lovingly call it, the ABD, because it's all laid out there. It's what goes on in every chamber of the Bardos, the macro dimensions that we're traveling in between incarnations.
And even within this.
And even within it, I was going to go there.
Hold up the book.
ABD, the American Book of the Dead.
She said, do you want to hold up the book?
Oh, yeah, put the thing on you and hold up the book. This is why we wrote the books.
Picture's worth 1,000 words.
That's a really great concept. You should patent that. I'll bet nobody's ever thought of that before.
So I can't get it to do what you want me to make it do.
Alright, something got
When,
clicked.
yeah, when I click on this, nothing happens.
Okay.
Okay, so you're clicking right on the eye, maybe.
Right
not
on the
there.
eye.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. So this is what we traditionally know as the American Book of the Dead, or the ABD. It's also called the Labyrinth Reader's Guide. And this has a lot of humor to it. You know, we in especially in America, we really don't have a word or a concept for that time between death and rebirth. And so there's a lot of fear around death and the understanding of it. But I think the important thing to realize is this is a guide for navigating the spiritual realms. So whether it's the dreaming, whether it's your meditations and your shamanic journeying, whether you're walking out of the grocery store and talking and hear a homeless person talking to you and realize that they're channeling some special message for you. These are the signs and symbols and places that you may experience those things. So there's the actual translation from the Tibetan Book of the Dead, and then there's a lot of instruction for the reader on how to read and utilize this. And then another version, which is basically another thing, it's a translation, but it's called The Angel's Healing Journey, also by E.J. Gold. And this is probably a good reference if you're dealing with people who are fear-based and are afraid of scary things and afraid of death and afraid of change and are particularly religious. So if I was reading, let's say, for someone who is Catholic, I might read from this one because it's talking about angels and putting things into that type of terminology. It doesn't really change the meaning of the passages, but it's just a little more gentle, I guess.
Yeah.
Less sarcasm.
Okay. So,
Thank you, Bonnie.
Welcome. And this is Chance, by the way.
Chance. is a guest for the week. His daddy is a friend of ours who lives in town and is out of town on business. And so this is Chance. Mina, Sikla Mina, our lovely white spiritual cat, isn't thrilled at Chance's presence here. But Chance is a sweet, sweet dog. Was a not a guardian dog,
It's a little support.
a guide support dog for the wife of this friend of ours who passed away
Oh,
late
service
last
dog.
year.
Yeah, service.
Service dog, yeah. So Chance is a retired service dog, and he's just wonderful. Okay, buddy, I got to go back to work. Thank you for visiting. Now go say hi to Yvonne. This urgency, I'm encouraging you to adopt. I'm basically encouraging you to kick things up a notch, as Emeril Lagasse would say. Is he even still alive or on TV? Because I don't do TV anymore.
Who?
Emeril Lagasse was one of those famous TV cooks, and kick it up a notch on his stuff. Anyway, I used to watch cooking shows back in the day, so I wouldn't starve. But I haven't seen.
Now it's Hell's Kitchen.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay. No. Anyway, kick it up a notch is on your work. There is enough going on in the world of a serious nature, and the battle lines are forming. And we still have an opportunity to prevent the major crux from happening and literally all hell breaking loose and devastating most of humanity. It's not done. If you read, most of you are familiar with the Judeo-Christian Bible, but if you read Revelations, a lot of the bad things that are happening right now are described verbatim. Same with the Hopi guy. Cobwebs will be spun in the sky. If you look up at chemtrails, you go, wow, that does look like cobwebs. But even the Bible, it's like God is allowing this, to use the Christian language parlance, and it's really up to us are we going to be righteous or are we going to be unrighteous? Are we going to live in harmony with our fellow man? That's the question. Or are we going to allow ourselves to be tricked and duped into being divided and fighting vehemently over really superficial differences? You know, skin color, hair color, all this kind of garbage. You can go dye your hair. I mean, who cares, right? You can go get a tattoo, and now your skin color is different. So why are we even arguing this question?
There was a comment earlier, probably on a whole different subject, but I think we've kind of come full circle, and this was from Cherie, and she said, "It seems to me that the only real battleground that matters is the one inside each of us. That's where the greater ones are won or lost." And I think that when you're saying to kick it up a notch, I mean, the only one that we're competing against is ourselves.
Right.
So
Let me comment on what Cherie said.
Okay.
Is yes.
There you go, Cherie.
That is the essence of why we're doing the meditations the way we're doing it. We are counteracting the technology that's controlling the weather, but we have to keep in mind that some of that similar technology is being used to alter the human collective consciousness. So it's out there in the field, just like the famous one, the world is flat, and all those other world or flatisms out there, right? Well, everybody knows the world is flat. Why even look? Why should I build a ship big enough to sail across the Atlantic? Because everybody knows you'll fall off the edge. Okay, it seemed obvious to most of Europe. Not so obvious to the people who were actually doing it routinely. I mean, sometime I'm going to come up with a list of all the ones we know. Like we know that the Indians from India were here. We know the Chinese were here. We know the Vikings were here. We know the Phoenicians were here. We know the Templars were here. All over these American continents and the Pacific Islands. I mean, it's just, and there's even more if you go farther back. There's peoples who don't exist now that were traveling. So, but the paradigm was, the earth is flat, there's nothing out there, so don't look. Except some goofball named Columbus convinced the Spanish crown to go look. Hey, I'll give you all these riches, because trust me, I got this old map. He had the Piri-Reis map, it appears, or the maps from which the Piri-Reis map was made. And he knew right where he was going. He just got he thought he was hitting India, and he didn't. He hit the Americas. So, or maybe he knew he was hitting the Americas because he had the map of the whole world, but he knew he couldn't sell royalty to give him money based on a non-existent continent. But everybody knew about India because you could go the other way. And so, yeah, I'll get to India, trust me. He knew he wasn't going to India. That's what I think. These paradigms. The paradigms are these beliefs that are never questioned, like the world is flat, like all the others that are out there. And right now we have paradigms in our society that are hurting us, that are not true. The global warming.
Fake news.
The science is settled. What was that?
Fake news.
Fake news. Yeah. Up until the 2016 election, the news was full of fake news. We just weren't calling it fake news. We called it news. And everybody was believing it. And now we have the proof right out there in front of God and everybody that, yeah, the media's been lying. And so now, all you have to do is accuse someone of fake news. Oh, that's fake news. With no proof on your part, but the fake news defeats everything, right? Oh, you're a racist. You're a communist, right? So there's this paradigm out there. And what we're trying to undo is the paradigm. And the way we're undoing the paradigm is we're replacing in the human collective consciousness the old paradigm with a new alternative. That's what we're doing. We're making it available. And if it gets put in there often enough, long enough, loud enough, coherently enough, and I mean that not just in a clear writing standpoint, I mean that in a very physics of light standpoint. A coherent signal is a very specific physics meaning. Like it's the difference between a laser and that light bulb. It will change the human collective consciousness. It will change the paradigms, and you will see changes in the world. People are going to go, wait a minute, what am I doing this for? I don't want to spray poison in the sky anymore. Holy moly, what am I doing? Here's my resignation. I'm out. I'm going to go find something else. It'll start with 1, and then 2, and then 10, and 100, and they're going to be raising salaries. Hey, come back, we'll give you more, and a few will go back for more money, and then they'll, I'm done. And all of a sudden, people are going to start getting it. And it will take time. And if we don't start, it won't happen. So we're starting. The time is now. Battle lines are being drawn. We're going to change the paradigms because that's how we're going to win. So, read the ABD. Start reading about the Tree of Life. What's that look like?
Farther down. Stand back. Yep.
That's the one to start with. I don't know how many I put on the reading list, but this is the one to start with. It is called the Practical Kabbalah Guidebook. It is very comprehensive. It is very straightforward. It's not going to be the one where you become a master Kabbalist. But if we want to look up something quickly, this is still the one we go to. And it's got pictures for the right brain. And it's got words and equations for the left brain. So it
And
covers everything.
There's meditations that you can do for 22, 32 days, and then you can do them again and focus on something different. But you can get that used online for a couple bucks.
Yeah, we should probably pick up another copy.
Yeah.
We'll add it to our shopping list. Kick it up a notch is my take-home message. Does anybody have any questions before I go into a couple of announcements that are also pertaining to kick it up a notch?
Tell me again what the author's name is.
Oh, of this one. The author that the printing was too small to see
Yeah.
and that I didn't announce.
Yeah, that's the one.
That would be the one? Okay. C period J period M period Hopking. Hopking. And there's nothing in here that gives like the whole name, so that's how you have to shop for it. CJM Hopking. Good question. Any other questions?
Was it specific questions, or was it any questions?
You could ask about the meditations. You could ask about the Kabbalah, the ABD. I threw out a lot of examples tonight pertaining to your personal practice, kicking it up a notch, just adopting that place of power 24/7. That was something I didn't finish. As soon as you wake up, you adopt a place of power. You use intent and attention in that calm quiet of the warrior all day. And then it's time to go to bed to go to sleep. You maintain that in the dreaming. The Toltec path, we don't get any time off just because it's nighttime and we send our bodies to sleep. We still work in the dream. Question on it.
Well, to maintain power, and for example, I noticed that, it's like we're in a half dome. Somebody put a glass cake cover over Mount Shasta in Siskiyou County, and the radiations are really powerful. And what can we do environmentally to keep that at bay so we could be in a place of power?
You don't want to. The radiations here in Mount Shasta, and the three of us are the ones who live right here in this school.
Right.
The radiations of Mount Shasta are there for a reason. You're here for a reason. You don't want to turn it off.
I'm not asking to turn it off, but it's just,
And you don't want to keep it at bay.
well, maybe that was the incorrect word, is to help regulate it for my body.
The best thing you can do is to do the vitriol regularly,
Okay.
at least once a week, no more than twice a week.
All right.
And the reason I say that is those radiations are part of how we kick it up a notch, how we raise our standards, our performance, how we build personal power. What I can
Burning dross.
Yeah, burning dross. Yeah.
What's that?
What I can tell you, when you're forging metal, dross refers to the impurities that are in there. So you burn off the dross. So there's usually like, when you're forging metal, there's like a layer on the top of the molten metal that's called the dross. So D-R-O-S-S. What you want to do with these radiations and all those uncomfortable feelings they induce is learn to enjoy it. And I'm not being flippant.
Yeah.
I'm serious. Is learn to enjoy it. There are people who spend lifetimes before they get a chance to immerse themselves in these radiations and these transformations and be ready for the steps that those of us in the school are taking.
I swear.
And so enjoy it, revel in it.
I swear it's like total Shiva destruction, fire energy, and it's intense, and the mountain is turned it up.
So
you can feel it.
You're now at step 1. Wait till you get to step 10. And I'm not joking. This is good. Maybe you're at step 2. I can't tell.
So Cherie introduced the word modulation, and also the great purifier. So the thing about it is that I've understood, because being in these different situations, and a lot of this is discussed in the American Book of the Dead too, is that you're exposing yourself to the radiations on purpose, so that when you go through your ultimate ascension transformation, that you can handle the radiations.
Yep.
And so the thing about that is that by doing the vitriol, even if you just do the chakra balancing part of it weekly, and maybe once a month do the other part, remember that the other part is your ability to kick it up a notch, to really, to push the button and say, okay, give me more.
Yeah.
And so all I can say is that we have found the vitriol to be, this, along with the Akadua, to be the 2 single most important tools we've received through this lineage for being able to handle more radiation. And
handle more radiations, handle the macro dimensions.
Does the radiation seek those who will meet it and let it affect their bodies and push through it? I mean, does it seek you?
There's 2 answers to that. One of the answers is yes, and one of the answers is no. The answer that's no is, it's like the sun. The sun is there radiating continuously
Right.
in all directions for anybody who chooses to take advantage of that light. Our perspective varies with that because we're on this spinning ball.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, flat earthers. We're on this spinning ball. The funniest thing I've seen online about this new flat earth stuff that the government cubicle patrol has been putting out the last couple of years is the Facebook page of the Flat Earth Society. And their quote, and I downloaded this graphic. The Flat Earth Society has members all around the globe. I kid you not. Right now, we're spinning away from the line of sight of the sun, right? The west is that way, the east is that. We're spinning this way, and it's moving us away. And then we will lose sight of it. The sun hasn't changed. It's that. So we have altered our perspective, and we're receiving less. And then tomorrow morning, we come around, and there's the sun. It's still radiating equally in all directions, continuously, etc., right? The part of the answer to your question that's yes is when you begin your spiritual work, you change your vibration through your awareness. And you make these little baby steps, and every little baby step you go, it's like climbing one step up the mountain. You see a little more over the horizon. You receive new radiations. You're changing your frequency. The old radiations you no longer resonate with. And now all of a sudden, you're resonating with a new frequency. It was there all the time, but you didn't resonate with it, therefore you didn't receive it. It's like changing the channel on an old radio dial, right? You're, oh wait, here's a good one. Oh wow, that one's strong. Oh, let me go. Oh, that one's even strong. Oh, good. Turn that off, right? That's what we're doing. We make ourselves able to receive these higher ones.
So doing a katawa, we're theoretically allowing ourselves to receive high radiations because of the high frequency of the katawa.
Yeah. You're a better receptor once you get the katawa.
I had an analogy though. So the sun's shining on us all the time. We could choose not to go out into the sun. We could live in a cave and completely be in denial of the fact, kind of like Plato's allegory of the cave, where these people are inside a cave, and when they do first come out of the cave, they're blasted by this light and they can't handle it, and some of them are I don't want to have any of this, so they go back into the cave and live their life that way. And basically we have to expose ourselves consciously in small doses, so it's almost like sunbathing, especially for us white girls. You don't just go out at noon and lay in the sun for 6 hours. You have to go out a little bit at a time. And like, I'm somebody who can't really handle being in the noonday sun. I just wilt, But there's times when I consciously go out and expose myself to the sun and, get some vitamin D and, really bask in that sunlight. But I can only do it for short periods of time. But if I'm consistent about it over a period of time, I can handle being in the sun more. And I can handle those harsher radiations. Because they're beautiful, it's wonderful. And when you read the ABD, it talks about the radiation specifically. It says, okay, there's this harsh, burning, fusing radiation in this particular chamber, and you want to embrace that and let it burn off all of this negative karma that's associated with that space. But at the same time, there's like a shadow image kind of light that's smoky and soft and inviting. And if you seek refuge in that, you're basically throwing yourself into a new karmic rebirth. And so in that way, if we run away every time the radiations get harsh, then we never, we're not going to grow.
Yeah.
So exposing ourselves to the radiations, if we
is a good thing.
do that, we're rebirthing.
In a way, I'm not sure I would call it rebirthing. It's preparing you for something that will happen later.
Okay.
And that something might be a rebirth, and that something might just be learning to travel the macro dimensions while you're still incarnate.
Or ascending.
Yeah. So partly it is we become more resonant with this higher frequency, and then we'll hang out with that one for a while, and then we go up a notch.
Right.
And then we are resonant with the next level. Then there's the Akadwa, which makes us a better receptor. Then there's the fact that you became a student in an esoteric school. And the fact that you're a student in an esoteric school means you are now exposed to radiations that people who are not students in this school don't get. So you're getting kind of like a triple whammy on the yes part. But in a way, I mean,
then you're a warrior.
We're just making ourselves more available to these radiations. So
Okay.
the radiations are always there. Sometimes we resonate and we're not aware, or that we are aware, and sometimes we don't.
Right.
But it's this process of going through this work, this school, and using the Akadua that make it possible to receive it. And so no, we don't want to turn it off. And you make faster progress if you don't turn it off. My analogy that I developed when I was really going through the throes of my level 4 way back in the day was being inside the big giant metal bell, somebody outside whacks it with a sledgehammer. And you just have to sit there and take it. You can try to ground it out, which is what I tried and failed miserably at. You can run over and try to press the wall, but
Right.
like every 5 seconds somebody's whacking it, so you might as well just learn to enjoy it. And the vitriol technique that we've taught you is the most powerful for helping you to adapt to these higher frequencies. So vitriol, and just like it, because not everybody gets this chance. And revel in the fact that, wow, after all these lifetimes and all this stuff, here I am, I'm past the threshold, I'm starting, this is it. This is game on. We're here. So yeah, enjoy it. Don't stop it.
No, I'm not stopping
Good.
it. It's just like, oh.
But that was your question.
Well, I worded it wrong.
Okay. Oh, there's something left in this one. So, kicking it up a notch. There's going to be a level 4 class. It's tentatively, pending on availability of this and that and the other thing, going to be the 3rd week or so of January. It would start Saturday the 19th of this coming January and run through Friday the 25th of January. There's a variety of spiritual / magical reasons why those dates are picked. I'm telling you now, I don't have any other details ready for you other than that's the date, it's the time, and the level 4 opens a lot of doors. I'm going to encourage everyone who is a student to plan on trying to free up that week and make that available. It is a course that is called an intensive. And what that means is you come to the spot where we're going to be doing this. You will be there for the whole week. There's no leaving to go to hotels. There's no leaving to go to stores. There's no leaving to go to your favorite lousy coffee shop that charges way too much for a low quality drink. There's no leaving. You're there. The course will include your lodging, it will include all your food, and it will include the instruction. And that's one. Sometimes we get through and we only have none or one. This is the second tonight.
Cherie says, sign me up.
Okay.
And Sarah says, I'll be there.
Okay.
I want to do it. The thing is, I would miss the first day.
Can't.
Well, I'm going to retreat before that.
You'll have to make a choice. Can't miss the first day. I'm still waiting to hear back on a venue, so if it can't be then, it can't be then. But yeah, there's a process when we do this, and it can't be changed. Like water running down a hill, or like a woman who's pregnant having a baby. You can't skip the first month.
Mhm.
And you can't speed it up, you can't slow it down. 9 women in 1 month can't make a baby. So anyway, that's the heads up. And you can look at your schedules, you can juggle things, you can work things out. Over the course of the next few weeks, we will hopefully have the venue nailed down, the costs, and everything. The curriculum is all set. That's known. How to do a level 4.
Cost?
What's that?
Cost?
I said that will be nailed down in the next few weeks.
Okay.
Cost is one of the things. So stay tuned. I won't be able to open up to any and every level 3 who wants to come. So the students of the school get first choice, and then there will be up to a certain number of spots available. And I'm going to be opening this up also to other people who've gotten their level 3 through us. I actually would open it up to people who got their level 3 through Coyote, but most of them have already gone on to level 4s with Coyote. So we'll see. So that's the plan. The abilities a level 4 imparts, we'll have another discussion, and maybe not next week, but possibly the week after, or maybe the one as soon as I know all the details, where we're going to talk about the curriculum and as much as we can, and the process about what kind of skills you get from a level 4 class. It's a major initiation in the Akadwa system. It is very, very transformative. When you've come the path I've come, it's hard to look back and say which is the most important step of your path. When you're climbing a ladder, every rung is important. You can't get to the top of the ladder without using all the rungs generally. But the level 4 is a major quantum leap. It's bigger than any of the quantum leaps at level 1, 2, or 3. It's bigger than any of the other quantum leaps I've done, except one. There's one bigger that I've done. So I encourage you to attempt to make every effort to be there. Any questions? Okay. Kick it up a notch.
You have other
Nothing.
announcements?
There will be, right now, planned a discussion this next week. We're going to be looking at dates for possibly a shamanic weekend day, a one-day thing in September. I'll know more next week. Ask Sarah. Sarah, is October 6th the date now set for the Akadwa symposium, whatever we're going to call it?
When you talked about the one in September, did you want to say anything about the potential of special guests or the invocational dinner? And if all of that happens, I don't know if you saw my email about it to you about dates.
When did you said that? No.
Today. But anyway, the idea too would be that they could potentially do some dream work with us too when
Yeah.
they're up. So
There's something happening, and I don't know when. This sometime in September or October, there's going to be something happening, and I can't tell you what it is yet. I will hopefully know next week, and it's important, and you'll want to be here. and it will involve part of it another invocational dinner, and possibly something else, and something else.
So,
Read between the lines,
Typical
and
shaman.
you will figure it out. I have no doubt. So I think that's all I want to say about that.
okay, and then we're gonna have a booth on the 15th of September at Wind River, and I think several other people are gonna be working, doing their own booths. So I need to know at some point if you can volunteer any hours in the Alcadua booth or work that booth at all.
Okay, so the 15th of September, as you just heard, there is a psychic fair at Wind River. We've been there before. I think that's where I met Sarah, in fact. And we have a booth there this year. And we'll be promoting the Acadua, and we're using that as a fundraiser for Coyote the Blind's Medicine Wheel project. And we would greatly appreciate any assistance in the booth. It'll be a chance, hopefully, for you to give transmissions, to talk about the Acadua, talk about how you use
I'll
it.
be there, Bonnie.
You can do that? Okay, great.
Wonderful. What I can tell you after doing this 9.5 years is the most effective way of advertising the Acadua is with your personal stories. Just talk to people about, hey, I got the Acadua and I do this and I did that, and etc. You've got the textbook information for people who want it, but usually that's not the hook. It's the personal stuff. I gave 2 level 1 transmissions in the last week, one to another acupuncturist, and it was the stories of how I used it with acupuncture and what I saw the results were when I worked on patients before I had the Acadua and after I had the Acadua. That was the hook system. It's like I described all this, felt the energy, yeah, sign me up. Wanted the transmission. Got it. Done. So, September 15th, we may or may not have a shamanic day. I haven't finished my meditation on that one yet. So, and then something else may be happening, and because I don't know when, I don't know about the shamanic day. So there's several things firmly up in the air regarding September and October schedules. But the 6th, we believe, is set. So we just need to sit down with Sarah and work that out. And it's going to be in Red Bluff. And it's to promote the Acadua and to get people in Red Bluff aware that they have new sheriff in town. Her name is Sarah. Okay, any other questions here, online? Okay, thank you. And we'll see you next time. So until then, do good and avoid evil. So you now hit stop record and stop streaming.